All right. Well, I will keep one eye on this and let people in. I will, but well, let's get started. We are top of the hour. Just a reminder, we always record this, so just be aware of that. And if anything happens where you're like, "Ooh, can you cut that out, edit that out?" Just let me know, and I will take care of that for sure. And I'll mention this again as we get into the hot seats. But there was one comment from somebody that said, "Oh, maybe for the hot seat, I might not want that going out to the broader group, depending on how it goes." And so if you are one of the hot seats and you decide you don't want your portion shared, just let me know. I will edit that out before I make it available to the rest of the group. But the plan for today, if you haven't already had a chance to look in the master document, we'll introduce Nikki. Her and I will have a quick conversation, ask a few questions. Then we'll have some time for open Q&A with Nikki, and then we're going to get into hot seats. We're doing something a little different than we've done before, where we got about 8 slots for 10 minutes each. I've got the list of people in order, and she'll just review websites or whatever you want her to take a look at regarding your brand. Just a real quick 10 minutes sort of insight from the master, if you will. And then, as folks, if people aren't here, some folks have said, "Ooh, I might not be able to be there," we'll just keep going down the list. So if you're an alternate, there is a chance that you might be able to get some free coaching from Nikki on that. So with that, why don't we just jump in here? Pardon my eyes going all over, letting people in. But let me introduce Nikki Groom. For those of you who don't know, Nikki and I connected at, I guess, at Influence, not this year, but the year before. And I quickly realized this is who I need to do my website, to do my brand, to do my marketing stuff. And if you've had a chance to look at my website, if you like my website, which I think most people do, Nikki is the one. It has nothing to do with my genius. She is a master of kind of asking the right questions and pulling the stuff out and putting it into something that actually reflects who you are and who you want to be. So, Nikki, welcome.
Thank you so much. I'm so excited to meet everybody. And yeah, we did connect for the first time last year. You are doing yourself a disservice because I can only do my work with geniuses like yourself
Uh,
who bring all of who they are to the work. But I loved meeting you, and I'm so excited to meet this incredible community that you've been curating and cultivating. So
yeah, it's been super fun, and why don't we just change the whole plan for today? Why don't you and I just compliment each other all day? Let's just do that. I think that's actually
I do that well, so I'm down.
you
Yeah, I
do.
mean, people may check out and log off, but you know,
Right. I could
I
use
mean,
two
I can
hours of
extend the
encouragement. I don't
compliments.
know.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Well, let's just get started again. For those of you just jumping on, we'll do a little Q&A, Nikki and I, and then we'll open it up for questions. So kind of have your questions ready. Feel free to be active in the chat. Nikki and I, I'm not sure we'll be able to check during, but feel free to communicate with each other. We will capture all of that stuff at the end. But Nikki, let me just start a little bit by, I guess, if, this is a question that us speakers face all the time. But for you as a branding marketing expert, when people ask you, so what do you do, or what problem do you solve? How do you answer that question yourself?
So I love asking people that question, and I hate answering it, which I think is probably something a lot of us identify with. So the easiest way to describe what I do, I say I'm a business brand and marketing strategist. I'm also the CEO and founder of Raised Voices, and we are a company that specializes in creating speaker platforms. We do niche and work just with professional speakers. That was kind of a scary thing to do a few years back, because niching always feels a little bit like, oh, is it the right time? Is this too niche? But it's just been wonderful, and we're going from strength to strength, and I get to work with the most extraordinary people. My background is in marketing, so that's how I came to be in the States in the first place, 16 years ago, and still here. I started my own business primarily in the personal branding and messaging and marketing space in 2013. And I've just helped so many different folks in so many different ways. And one of the things I come up against time and time again is I just want to know like what my thing is. How do I describe what I do so other people immediately understand what it is that I do, that they understand the value, and that they, of course, want to hire me. So I have a personal aversion to answering that question, but clearly I can ramble on for a bit and it makes some kind of sense. But I'm very happy to answer any other questions that people have around specifically the expertise that I bring. My favorite thing to do, I know we joked about complimenting in the beginning, but I just love holding space for someone to show up fully as they are and understand all of the incredible lived experiences that they bring, the real insights and ideas, and figure out a way to connect that to their most ideal audience in a way that makes that audience feel seen and heard and understood. It's such a lovely dance that I get to do, just finding the right language and the right differentiation, and then making sure that the visuals all match. So there's a lot that goes into it, but I truly feel like I'm doing the work that I was born to be doing. So with the people I was born to be doing it with. So I love doing what I do.
I
Yeah.
love that. And I'm glad you mentioned coming from overseas because those people have kind of stalked you and seen where you're from. They didn't really think that was a very strong, New Hampshire accent that you have.
Yeah, I actually I'm in Newport, Rhode Island these
Oh,
days,
that's
and
right,
I
you're Rhode Island. I was thinking New Hampshire.
yeah,
Yeah.
I always joke. I say, "Oh yeah, I'm clearly from Cranston," But yeah, England originally, and I don't know what my accent's doing these days. I forget that I have one half the time. But yeah, there we go.
So how do you, when you think, like, I think for some of us novices, especially coming out of the analytical world, right? This whole idea of marketing and
Mm.
branding and all this stuff seems so important but nebulous. So how do you differentiate between like brand and marketing? Like, how would you describe the difference between those two things?
Yeah, I guess the easy way would be to talk about the brand really being that foundation. It's that thing you keep coming back to when you want to make sure, am I showing up in integrity in a way that people are going to respond to, in a way that feels good to me? Like that really is that foundational piece. And then the marketing is now, okay, now that I got my foundations there, how am I going to continually show up and be more visible and reach more people? Like, what are those avenues that I'm going to take, those strategies and those tactics that I'm going to adopt so that I am seen and heard for the expertise that I bring. So marketing is almost a secondary piece, and branding. I feel like it can take time, absolutely. And in fact, I always believe that we're constantly in evolution. We have new ideas, new stories that come in, new ways of seeing the world that we need to incorporate. So we can always have that evolving brand. But for the most part, once it's set, you can kind of, and I think we had conversations around this too, Steve, that sometimes it's like, let's just let it sit for a while and
Mhm.
see how people respond. And then we kind of can tell if we're on the right track. The same goes for when you're delivering your keynote. You need to actually get out there and deliver the keynote to get a sense of, did the audience love this? Did I get those stage side leads? Like what kinds of things were resonating? Whereas marketing is just that thing that as business owners, which we all are as speakers, we obviously need to be doing ongoing. Otherwise, you start to get a bit of the feast or famine. And so just really figuring out what makes sense for me and what makes sense for the clients I most want to work with from that marketing perspective.
I love that. So when you think about like professional speakers like us or anybody that's kind of working for themselves, where they really are the brand, is brand? I mean, talk a little bit about this difference between, is the brand actually something that we manufacture and develop, or is the brand really like extracting who we are? You know what I mean? Like it feels like
Yeah.
it's almost like, okay, I want to be true to who I am and I want to just extract who I am and have that be my quote unquote brand. Like my brand already exists. I just have to kind of identify it versus actually developing a brand.
I think that's such a good question, Steve, because I think you've just hit the nail on the head in terms of that. Again, I call it a dance, but there's probably any other analogy that you could use. But we're constantly having to go between, like, I really feel deeply about this thing. This work really matters to me. And I think that this is maybe how I should be showing up. But then what do people want? And is it the same thing? And like, how do I connect the dots between the two? And so that's really what the branding work that I do is all about. I do think that there are potentially folks out there or companies out there who manufacture something that when you kind of dig beneath the surface, it's all just smoke and mirrors. That's not the work that I'm in. I love, and I think the most resonant brand that you can possibly have is when it's a true extension of who you are. And not only that, but as a speaker, when you're showing up on stage and that dynamism you bring and the engagement that you bring, that there's no disconnect between how you're showing up on stage and how you're showing up online. Like, that's really what we're trying to do. So but I also hear your point. Like sometimes it's like, well, I really want to make sure that this is
Mhm.
sellable and I'm sellable. And so there can be some blurred lines there, especially when the brand is you, the business is you. And I've been doing that dance myself personally for many years and with other people as well. And I think, there's always an invitation to keep leaning into the realist version of you, and that includes the good and the bad, you know, the
Mhm.
accomplishments and the strengths, sure, but also the stuff that you're still continuing to grapple with even in the present moment. I think that oftentimes as experts, which I know even some of us don't love that term, like, ooh, am I truly an expert? But as experts, which I truly believe we all are in some way, shape, or form, there can often be that pressure to have it all figured out and have all the answers. And I actually don't believe that that's what leadership looks like. That's not what it means for us to be experts. It simply means that we have real insights, ideas, and perspectives, and we're continually learning and evolving and looking to what's next. So we're really on that leading edge. And I think if you can be honest about that journey, one thing that happens when you're communicating with your audience is that they then feel that spaciousness and graciousness to show up exactly as they are. They don't have to sit there and feel any kind of shame about where they are on their journey, because it's like, it's okay. Like, I've been through all this and I've figured out actually this incredible framework, for example, that really can make a difference. And I'm having to continually practice this every single day myself. Like, there's a real humanity that comes with that I think is important we hang on to, especially right now and right today.
Hmm. Love that. So part of that, you kind of mentioned that I think one of the rub for a lot of us speakers, especially when we're trying to develop our brand or trying to figure out how we show up, is that what you said, okay, like here's me, here's true, this is me authentically who I want to show up as. But then we got to get pulled over to but yeah, is it sellable? Is that what the
Yeah.
market's looking for? There's kind of like all the different frameworks of here's the Venn diagram of what you're passionate about, what the world needs, what you can get paid for, and we want to be in the sweet spot. And I think for a lot of us, I've had conversations with several people here, and it's my journey is we start focusing a little bit more on, okay, what the world needs. Well, they need, we need to tie to ROI. We need to do all these things. And so we start to morph a little bit this way. And then we find ourselves one day like, this isn't really even who I am. This isn't really me. This is, yeah, I'm selling talks, but I don't really enjoy it. So then we kind of swing back, or we're kind of I feel like we're swinging back and forth. Any insight into like how do we start to reconcile that, or is it more important to stay true to ourselves and it's some messaging things we have to work on? Or I know it's kind of a loaded question, but any advice for those of us that are kind of struggling in that realm?
Yeah, I think a couple of different things. So before you even, I mean, there's definitely a hierarchy of sorts when it comes to business strategy and brand strategy and marketing strategy. And it typically is that they need to kind of go in that order. So being really clear on how much do I want to get paid? Who is my audience? Like, what types of speaking engagements do I want to be doing? Is this something that's going to lead to other kinds of work for me? Do I also do executive coaching or consulting, or do I have a course or program that I want to push people to? So having a sense of like, what are my goals for my business, not only for the coming year, but where do I ultimately want to be? Because I think that that can be really informative then as we move into that brand building, so that we do create something that feels really resonant in terms of how it aligns with your goals, but also your values. Um, Also, though, yeah, the things that matter most to you. And then, as I talked about before, there is sort of this dance or this balancing act, and there really it's a Venn diagram between you, so really truly understanding who you are, what your truth is, your lived experiences, all of those amazing things that make you you and make you the expert that you are. That's one piece that needs to be communicated and that needs to be factored in. And then there's your audience. And so, I've been in the marketing world for a long, 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 long time. And oftentimes we can get very hung up on avatars and demographics and things like that. I'm more interested when it comes to positioning in psychographics, and especially when it comes to asking two key questions, which is, when you think about the people you most want to serve and support, what are they struggling with and how are they feeling? And
Hmm.
then how do you speak to that? So I talk about it in terms of leading with empathy or even in solidarity with those folks, like really kind of standing shoulder to shoulder to them and making them feel seen and heard. Like, what do they need to hear? How do I connect that to what I know? And then the third piece of the Venn diagram is that vision for change that you have. So if I think about the work that I'm doing today, and maybe, you know, for me, maybe it's my mission won't be, my work won't be done until everybody on the planet can talk about what they do with no hesitation. I don't know, I just made that up on the
Hmm.
spot. But thinking about and typically it's deeper and further reaching than that, but thinking about what is the world that I'm trying to create, and maybe it's just your specific slice of it, And maybe it's just HR managers, for example, but knowing what they're really struggling with. And then can you still hear me okay? I think I just lost
Yep.
sound in one of my
Yep.
earphones. Knowing what they're really struggling with and knowing what my own experiences have been and what I've learned. And then knowing that I want a world where no HR manager ever has to feel completely in over their head and alone ever again. Like, what does that then mean for how I position myself, what I ensure that they know is possible for them? And then how do I connect those pieces all together? So I realize I'm simplifying, but also I think that those can be just important touchstones as you think about building your brand. If it feels like you're talking about yourself too much, or if it feels like you're over indexing on your audience, or if it feels like you haven't even begun to talk about what you believe is possible in terms of that vision for change, that future that you want to create with them together, then that's something maybe to look at then in your positioning. Does that help a little bit? Probably leads to more questions, I'm sure.
Well, it certainly leads to more questions, but it helps
Yeah.
me kind of frame that up too. I do want to open it up for questions now. If you missed the beginning, we're going to do another 15 or 20 minutes of Q&A, and that's your chance to ask questions. You can either unmute, raise your hand, put it in the chat, whatever you want to do. I obviously have 8,000 more questions that I can ask too. So if you guys don't have questions, I'll just keep on pouring through mine. But let me pause and see if anybody has a question they want to ask of Nikki. Nothing yet? Okay, that's perfectly fine.
I have a
Matthew, go
question.
ahead. Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Nikki, pleasure to connect with you.
Yeah, you too.
Everything you're saying is very smart and on point. And I like what you said about thinking about your audience and this question of what are they struggling with and how are they feeling. And I've even, read books where people say you can even put that as like a prompt in your social media or your LinkedIn or whatever it may be, and asking, hey, like, what are the struggles out there? And those comments will even give you like a content outline of what to speak about, what to cover. And I really like that. Do you have any, brainstorming techniques in terms of putting yourself in that position of, what are they struggling with and how are they feeling, and getting out of your own head and getting in the head of your audience so that you can almost have that brain dump of data? Any exercises you've come across to uncover that?
Yeah, absolutely. And I love, by the way, Matthew, what you've already described in terms of not being afraid sometimes to put it out there and ask the question. I think that can be really valuable. And what you've identified there in terms of how people comment, or maybe they respond to an email that you send to your list or whatever it might be, is that you get this real gold, which is the language that people are actually using to talk about the problems that they're having. So I love that that's sort of an exercise that you'd mentioned. I think that's a great instinct and a great thing to try and test. And it's something that you can be doing ongoing. There's different questions that you can ask and different ways of coming at that so that you are continually getting that input. I think as well, in terms of working with clients, that can also be an exercise in those early conversations that you're having, just really understanding like what are those specific challenges and how are they describing it so that you can connect into that truly. And of course, the longer that you are in a certain field or serving a certain audience or fractal, the more you'll begin to have that language at your fingertips because you know how they talk about it. I also think that in sales conversations, for example, there can be almost sort of this instant reflection. This is what I'm hearing you say, and that's sort of all part of active listening and things like that. In terms of an exercise, I've been hedging a little bit because it's a little bit woo, but I do have an exercise that can be really powerful if you're prepared to do it. And it could be more of a journaling exercise, but thinking about, okay, if I was writing a letter to my ideal client, and it's a love letter of sorts, in that I just want them to really feel seen by me. I want them to understand that I know what they're going through, that I get it, that they don't have to go through this anymore, and that there's hope for them. And just kind of journaling and see what comes out, because what I guarantee you'll find is some really resonant, profound messages float to the surface that then help you more ably connect into the specific things that they're going through.
I love that. I'm gonna do that. That's powerful. Thank you.
Awesome. I shouldn't have hedged my way around that one.
No,
I don't want to
great.
come right out with write them a love letter.
Yeah, write them a love letter. Next question.
Yeah, that's right. Use your imaginations. Yeah. Awesome.
Thank you, Nikki.
Well, Matthew, let us know how it goes if you end up doing that. Marilyn. Oh, you're muted right now, Marilyn. Perfect.
Nikki, it's a delight to meet you. I'm sorry
Hi,
I'm
Marilyn.
late. I've heard about 5 minutes and I am just so deeply impressed with what you're saying. But I have a question that's probably personal, very personal, because I get this and I want to wonder if the other people get it. I have a theory that we're all too close to our forest to see our personal brand. And how do you deal with well, it's not important, I'm going to do it myself, let me figure it out, that kind of thing. Whereas just in listening to you for 5 minutes, at 30,000 feet, and you spoke about the psychographic, which is a key part of personal branding. So I just wanted to know if you have some magic tool or an answer to that, the do-it-yourselfer person.
Yeah, I love that question so much, Marilyn. I appreciate you asking that. I think it's something we all come up against. And I do want to reiterate that as we started the call and Steve asked me to talk about what I did, and it was a bit like, it is something that, even as experts go through. And it's something that it's you had described the forest. I always say you can't read the label from inside the jar. It's kind of that same analogy, right? It's really hard, and it's because we have all these amazing stories and experiences and ideas just swirling around in our heads. And so I think that it can be very easy to second guess ourselves. What I find working, so I was going to say, I have a personal brand of my own. I'm doing more and more speaking, and so I grapple with this all the time. It's tough. It's tough to do by yourself. It's not impossible, but it's tough. And what I've found with every client that I work with is that there's something about having a conversation with one other person when they're asking you very specific questions and they're just kind of riffing in response with no need for it to be perfect. I have a wonderful client who, during the positioning phase of our work together, would continually say, I'm just going to say it messy. That's my really terrible southern accent there. And I welcome that. I want it to come out messy. It doesn't have to sound perfect, but what you find then often it comes out a little bit more unfiltered. And so, yes, this is the work that I do with people, and I know what I'm hearing what I'm looking for, and I've asked the question that's unlocked just the right answer. But it can also be something that you do with someone who's a trusted friend or someone inside this community, maybe even like, hey, would you mind just scheduling like 30 minutes an hour with me, and we can just kind of riff back and forth and ask each other about our work and capture it in a transcript, and then just see if that kind of sparks something for us in terms of how we begin to pull the pieces together. Or maybe there's something that you see in me that I'm not seeing in myself. Like suddenly the other person may connect the dots for you in a way that you've never quite been able to do. So I definitely think there's something around that piece. I also want to acknowledge that more and more we're using AI tools, and you may be anti or you may be pro, wherever you fall on the spectrum. I personally have found them to be helpful devices, and also they can be overwhelming at times. And so, sometimes it's the hardest thing in the world if you've begun to use those tools to step away and just kind of do you and have that human to human conversation, or write in a journal and just allow your thoughts to be without feeling the need to instantly perfect them. I think that's a valuable part of the process. And I think that if you are open to using those tools, sometimes you can, pull in a transcript and say, hey, I had this conversation with my friend Matthew, and would you just tell me, how you might begin to connect the dots about my work? And again, it may just come up with something that you hadn't thought about before. So I guess there are sort of shortcuts or ways of getting to what's most important, and not being afraid, again, of being, we're human beings, we're constantly changing, we're works in progress. So allow it to be an evolution, and just know that even if you arrive at something that feels really right for just now, know that maybe in 3 months, 6 months, a year, you might suddenly have an epiphany moment where you think, aha, now I know what it is. It's this thing. And it could be something that you read. It could be another conversation you had. It could be after a speaking engagement. Something just clicks into place. And what I found is that, well, maybe just because I'm super impatient, actually me and Steve were joking about that before I came on. no, my husband always says to me, patience. Sometimes it can be frustrating when those epiphany moments don't drop in at just the time we need them. But I think we do the best with what we have right now, with the resources, with the people, with the community that we have around us. And so come to a level of clarity that feels like it makes sense right now for where we're at. Does that answer your question to some extent?
Yes, it does, but I'm sure you and I could talk for hours. But I think was thinking of it more in the, and I don't know if this applies to speakers if they hear this, but I was thinking of more in the sales process, and particularly with AI. I'm so glad you mentioned AI, because it cannot be done with AI, in my opinion.
Sales process, yeah.
Well, not the sales process, but the personal branding process. This is a commercial for you. Because
I'll just sit back. Yeah.
What if Nikki is AI? We don't, what do we don't know.
No,
I could be.
Yeah.
I just wanted to. So glad you brought that up. I think it's a much deeper conversation, but it's something I just heard this week from a prospective client, and I just probably not for this conversation, but the personal brand is, I mean, there's just no way to explain its importance. So I'll just be quiet. Otherwise, they take up the whole time.
No, you're fine. And it's a delight to talk to you. I have another client that I worked with this year, and she's a future of work strategist. And one of the things I really appreciated about how she talks about AI and the way we use it is that the human element can never completely go away. And so I'm looking all over the place because the window's just moved around. So you're down on my bottom right now. But it really needs to be sort of human plus machine. So that's how we can do our best work, is when we're really honoring what we as only humans can bring, and then use it where it makes sense to just kind of expedite a process or get us over a hump. So I think if we can be very intentional about how we tap into those very, again, human resources that we have, whether it be our own insights and trusting actually maybe you have the answers deep down inside, or it means reaching out to a community, people who know us, who see us as only another human can, or just again using AI to kind of get us over a hump or make a connection that we're almost there but not quite. So yeah,
good stuff. Well, Marilyn, thank you. Yeah, thank you for that. Let's get to Nancy. Well, I'm a little bit nervous to bring Nancy on. She's my fashion consultant, and she picked out this shirt for me. And now that I'm wearing it, I'm like, I feel like I'm all fuzzy or something, like there's something weird happening at the camera. So Nancy, I think I might have failed you, but you can go ahead and ask your question.
No, Steve, you did not fail me. Stripes do strobe a little bit on video, but that's okay because it's a stylish shirt. It's awesome. So my question for Nikki is, so you were talking about niching earlier, and so I've built kind of two niches for myself in my work. They're separate, but they're sort of parallel in that it's the two primary tenets of my business, but they're hard to explain. So how do you, I feel like it takes, a paragraph rather than a tagline to kind of explain what I do. I have a sustainability niche, and so that, it does take some explaining, and sometimes not, just a lot of people aren't really thinking about sustainability, which is what I see as a really big opportunity in speaking. And then also I approach wardrobe consulting more in terms of how you're using it as a tool to reach your goals and to empower yourself rather than just be fancy stylish. It's really about that clothes can really be one of the tools in your toolbox to achieve your goals in work and life. And so how do I boil all that down to be, where I'm not having to spend 10 minutes describing myself, and when I'm speaking, or just, pulling people in? What are your thoughts on that?
Yeah, well, first of all, I just want to thank you for the question and reflect back to you that it's like, to me, hearing wardrobe consulting and sustainability, they're different things, but what's evident is that you're at the heart of it and your values are at the heart of it. And I love hearing what your specific approach is and your why. And those are all such important things to be aware of when we're curating our brand or thinking about what we really need to lead with. So I love that just in framing your question, you naturally did that, whether you realize that or not. I really appreciated that. And I think the challenge that you're hitting on is definitely one that it's one that we all come up against. And in an ideal world, we would be able to sum up what we did in one sentence, which is intimidating, right? And one of the things that I often try and do, because I think that it can be very, very easy as experts, as people who know a lot about the things we're passionate about, is to over-explain or make things more complex. Sometimes we don't even realize that we're doing it. And so a great task can be to think about, okay, if I had to explain this to a kid, like, how would I even begin to say this? And actually, again, if you are someone who's open to using AI, you can say, like, make this even more simple and direct. Make this say this in as few words as you possibly can. So keep moving towards that very simplified way down of saying what it is that you do. And actually that can help, especially if you're thinking more in terms of this vision for change you have, or a world that's kind of shifted, people who feel empowered in a world that is cognizant of sustainability needs and things like that. Really thinking about how can I get as many people on board with this as possible. So it does actually serve you and your mission as well, in terms of being as simple as possible. I have a client who primarily is a professional speaker, primarily speaks to healthcare audiences, but really wants to create this mission and this movement that he could, if he wanted to, speak to school kids or go on Good Morning America and talk about it. And so we've really simplified it down. I think in the beginning we had some language that just felt it was too dense and too complex, and you couldn't immediately understand what it was. But that's really what you're working your way towards. So I think simplifying and giving yourself permission to just say it as plainly as you need to, knowing that oftentimes when you do sum up what you do in one sentence, almost immediately, if you've piqued someone's curiosity, they're going to say, oh, tell me more about that. Or what does that look like in practice? Or how could you help me? And then you can kind of take that and run with it from there. Does that answer your question?
Yeah, it does. I like that idea of explaining what I do to a kid, because yes, because I would do it differently for sure. So thank you.
Yeah.
Awesome. Good stuff. Well, let's, I put in the chat the order of peeps who are going to be doing this hot seat thing. So we're going to limit it to 10 minutes each. I know you're going to want to go longer. I understand it. I get it. But we're going to cut it off at 10. So don't be personally offended if we do cut you off. But Sheri, are you ready to roll? And Nikki, do you want to give any instructions or anything, or just want to kind of just roll with it and see what happens?
Yeah, I would say the easiest thing would be if you could drop your website, Sheri, in the chat, and then everyone else can do that in order if they want, or just wait until it's your turn, and then I'll grab it and run with it.
Do you want to share your screen, Nikki, then as you're looking at it? Is that
yeah, if I have the ability to share my screen, I can.
Yeah, you should be able to then. I was thinking that they would share their screen, but if you want to kind of be able to navigate it, that makes sense. You could drop your website in there,
Yes,
and then Nikki can share screen and look around, and then we can go from there. You're not on the clock yet, Sheri, so you haven't lost a minute yet. We haven't.
I was about to say, and I want to take up a bit more time just to say, please, can you keep me honest, Steve, and just give me a sense of when we're reaching the end of our time?
What kind of a warning would you like?
Whatever you like.
Do you want me to count down 9.5 minutes? 9 minutes.
Yeah.
Okay,
yeah.
That's a little too far. Okay.
I was hoping you might have some buzzer or horn or something like that.
I have my own.
However you want to do it.
I have a built-in buzzer. I'll give you a 2-minute warning, and then we'll cut you off.
Okay.
How's
Perfect.
that?
Sounds good.
All right. So you got her website, so we'll get going. Go ahead, Nikki. It's all you.
Amazing. And Sheri, so I guess I have to ask, do you have any specific questions about your site, or would you just like me to kind of give you my thoughts and feedback?
I would just love your thoughts and feedback.
Okay. Amazing. The first thing, I'm going to talk a lot about what I like, because just how I roll. I love this picture of you. And the reason why I love it is because you're looking at the camera. We see this lovely warm smile. We really truly get a sense of who you are as a person. And of course, we know that people do business with people, and people they know, like, and trust. And so you are really doing a great job of leading with that. I might almost say that it might serve you to have just a headshot here. And so maybe we zoom in even more. And that way we can really, it might sound a little too intimate, but we're really gazing into your eyes and getting a sense of who you are. I think it could be more impactful that way as well. That's just sort of a little thing. And then what I like over here is that you have a very clear positioning statement. Life's too short for autopilot. It's so short, it's so succinct, and it tells us so much about what's important to you and what we're doing here. So I love that you lead with that off the bat. And then you lead into this question: are you living for weekends and vacations instead of your actual life? And then what you help people do. So I might, I love where this is going, and I also appreciate the navigation. I'm just going to touch on that while I'm up here, and you'll notice I'll probably do this for each of you, because we likely won't have time to go through every single page. But this is what people are generally going to see first of all when they come to your site. And so just knowing, like, how clear is my navigation? Well, we have this might be, is it, do you usually slip down into 2 lines? I know that sometimes, and it could be my screen resolution.
Yeah.
So I love who I help, how I help, about Sheri, podcast, blog, let's talk, schedule a free connection call. It's clear, it's to the point. Sometimes we make things too hard for each other in our navigation bars. You have your social media profiles. Again, if I was being picky, I might want to see if I could get these onto one line so it's just a little bit more legible, and things feel a little bit crowded up here right now. So maybe I would move the social media profiles off to the right, or I'd save them for further down in the footer. And then this, I like where you're going with this. I like that there's a very clear call to action. I think one thing I might think about doing is moving this really great copy down the page a little bit. And then instead of, I do love I help statements because they immediately shift you into a place of service, and people feel really, they're like, yes, I'm in the right place. But I wonder if we could lead more so with the promise. So, you know, something like start or enjoy a life, live a life you don't want to escape, or something. I'm talking about what we were just referencing in terms of really distilling it down, so it's just immediately possible for people to grasp what it is that you do. Just so you know, this is great, and I'm being super nitpicky. Probably just what I would do is take some of this and move it down the page and have something more short, sweet, and succinct here. I also would think about having some kind of bio line, credentials that tell us who you are. We know that this is the Dash mindset. We know that your name is Sheri if we look at the navigation and we see you, but I want to know, okay, what's your full name? And, you know, what do I need to know about you? You are a podcaster, or maybe you have a book, or maybe you're an expert in X, Y, and Z. And you can come up with that, you know, if you're not quite sure what to lead with. It could literally be, you know, mindset expert or something along those lines. But thinking about, I want people to immediately understand who I am as well. And so just as we were talking about earlier of that Venn diagram, we understand, like, this is your audience. You've done a great job of leading with them, but like, let's make sure that you're in the mix as well.
And by the way, Nikki, I appreciate it picky, so don't feel like you have to gloss over anything.
I'll keep being picky then. Yeah. And then I love, this is often what I recommend, and often a piece that people skip, this kind of what I would call like a challenge section. So when you're really establishing what's happening, so on paper everything looks great, but inside it's a different story. You've checked all the boxes. I wouldn't change a thing about this. I think it's great. It's really strong. And again, you have the call to action. The only thing I might say, someone might say, I've read enough, let's talk. But you might want to think about it in terms of, maybe you have it at the top, and then maybe just let them get a bit further through first of all, because now if they click this, they're not even reaching the promise. And the likelihood is they're going to keep scrolling anyway, because they haven't quite learned that you have the solution for them necessarily. I love what if it didn't have to be this way. So I think, again, you do a really good job. I might just think about, taking out this call to action, and and then again, you do what I oftentimes recommend. You start with the challenge, then here's the solution. You don't have to choose between achievement and enjoyment. You don't have to start over to feel fulfilled. It's great copy. And now you're telling us a little bit more about why you are the guide and the expert. So let's make the dash matter together. I guess my only question would be, because you've introduced this idea of the dash, and I know that it's part of the dash mindset, but right now we don't know what it is. And so I think there's a real opportunity. Sometimes what happens during the branding process is someone will come up with something that sounds really cool, but then it's like, well, in certain situations, people might think that it means this, or it might mean that. You don't want to leave people just free with their own interpretations. If the Dash mindset and the Dash mindset framework is your thing, then make sure they understand, like, this is how we define it. You know, that a Dash mindset isn't about this. This is what it's about, which you go on to do. But I just think maybe that this is a touch premature. So I think this is good. And then I love how you move into this, you know, rule of 3 is a great thing. So you kind of give them a few different things that they can, a few different ways that they can move forward. And again, yeah. And I guess I'm guessing that one of the things that you're grappling with is that you feel like you have 3 different audiences. And so this section is in a bid to speak with all of them, which I think is great. Sometimes I think it can serve you even better if you just choose an audience and go with that audience. And that can oftentimes tie back to your business goals. But if you are working one-on-one with individuals and leaders and event planners, I understand the conundrum. I guess my question to you would be, do you find that when you speak, for example, to leaders, teams, and organizations, that oftentimes leads to those individual engagements, or does it happen the other way around? Is there a certain flow when people come to work with you? Do you often find they follow a typical journey through different points of work?
Most of my clients have been referrals or people I've just met. And so I've just started speaking more. So I recently just added event planners to my site because it didn't even occur to me to have that on there before. And I work with individuals and I work with teams and individuals within teams. So it just depends. And one of my challenges has been I used to just focus on individuals. And then I focus just on teams, but I'm talking to individuals when I'm talking to a team, right? So that's always been a little bit of a back and forth challenge for me.
Yeah, if I were you, just because I want to make sure where am I on time, Steve?
2.5 minutes left.
Okay, we got this, Sheri. So one thing I think you could do, now that I've scrolled down and I see this, I think what I would probably do is think about these different audiences. And not to say you can't have this section further down, but I think it might be more important to have it in the navigation. And so if your individual work is about coaching, for example, have a tab that says coaching. If you do speaking for leaders, teams, and organizations, and maybe also workshops, have speaking or keynotes and workshops. And then for event planners, I do a couple different things. I either give them their own dedicated page, and then, you know, so event planners, and they click there and then they have everything, all of your assets in one place. Or if you have a dedicated speaking page, you could have a link to for event planners or meeting professionals and have that anchor down your speaking page to the section that has all of your headshots and your speaker assets and things like that. But I think if you start that journey,
can you scroll down just a little bit more? Because I think I have what you're talking about.
Yes. Okay. So I think, yes, coaching, and it sounds like maybe a speaker. Yeah. So coaching, consulting, speaking. I would lead with those at the top, and maybe even have a little hyperlink for event planners that bumps you down the speaking page. But I would start that journey right at the top, so that it's very clear, so people don't have to scroll until they figure out where they need to go. Does that make sense?
Yep.
So you kind of you're reiterating, like, this is the pathway through.
Okay, perfect.
And yeah, I like that you have a free strategy session. Let me look at really quickly you
got about 45 seconds, so go ahead.
45 seconds.
I know.
Okay, let me see. Yeah, I think that you've set this up really well. You have your talks laid out. One thing that I might add at some juncture is to really have those bullet points in terms of who this is for, what they'll walk away with. And it could be a framework, it could be new insights, a new mindset, a new awareness, you know, just really laying that out so it's very evident. And then again, I love that you have these clear calls to action. I also love that you have these testimonials. I didn't see these on the homepage, but don't be afraid to put your testimonials everywhere and anywhere. You know, put one under your header banner, put, you know, a bunch down below, you know, just make sure that you're seeding it through everything, because other people are the best proponents of you and your work.
All right, we're gonna have to cut it off there,
All right.
unfortunately. And
Thank
we
you.
originally we were gonna do like 5 minutes, so at least we're doing 10.
Oh my gosh.
I know, right? Okay, Nikki, Elisabeth Swan has put her link there, kind of the last message out there, and you guys can take it from here.
Wonderful. Elizabeth next. All right, wonderful.
Thank
Hi,
you, Nikki. That was
Elizabeth.
awesome. Bye.
Yeah, absolutely. I don't know, it's like a bit crunched for time. Okay, Elizabeth, one of the things that I love is that you have a video of you speaking. So now we immediately know you're a speaker and you do actually speak. You don't just say you're a speaker, you do it, because we can see you up there. So I think that that's such a great credibility thing for this first header banner right above the fold here. I also love that you have the conscious leader and it's trademarked. So now I know, aha, she has a body of work, she has a point of view that potentially could make sense for my people. And I love that you have this very clear line: give new leaders the chance to become great collaborators. It's simple, it's clear, it could probably be explained to a kid of a certain age. They would probably immediately understand what you meant, or more or less. And then you also break it down in terms of, okay, this is what I'm actually offering: keynotes, workshops, coaching. So I recommend this flow. This is often a flow. You don't necessarily need, 2 sentences, but I think what you have here, Elisabeth, is definitely something that everyone could potentially aspire to, in terms of making sure you're hitting all the things as soon as possible. And then you can kind of go into what else is happening. So I appreciate that you lead with the solution, but what I would rather you do, because you have this gorgeous section here, what we hear about new leaders from organizations like yours, if you have this first and then the conscious leader, so it's problem, then solution, then who you are. And I love that you kind of share, it's first person. Sometimes these can be third person, but I think first person, it just gives people a real chance to feel like they can see you and learn more about you. So I love that you do that. And then you have this clear model. So it's 1, 2, 3. It's nice and clear. I love that you have one word for each of them: explore, experiment, embody. It's simple. Again, we have a tendency to overcomplicate things, especially when we know a lot about a topic. But I love that you've broken this down for us, because it makes it so much more accessible. We can get on board with it right away. And then you have these 3 pathways. So I think that this is all really strong results. You have an assessment to get people started. There's nothing that I would change from a positioning or a messaging point of view necessarily, at least not at first glance. I think one thing that, without going deeper into the site for right now, that you potentially could really benefit from is really looking at the design of the site. So making sure, you have these really strong messages, and there's a narrative that you're telling. But now, is there a way that we can figure out, is this purple and are these illustrations and is this logo definitely what makes sense for you right now? And I actually think it's a beautiful logo. I think that the site could potentially be elevated in line with your goals. For example, if one of your goals was to get a certain number of speaking engagements per year consistently at a certain rate, if you're meeting your goals right now, great. But I think if there's a bit of a gap, the next level could be really getting those visuals elevated. I realize I'm being a little bit abstract with what I'm saying there, but essentially it would be doing things like, is this purple actually the color? And if it is there a way, for example, to add a gradient or to make the site less blocky? And I'll show you what I mean. Here's a site that we recently did for Paul Long. It just released, and his site prior was there was a lot of yellow, and that was really the color he'd gone all in with: yellow, yellow, yellow. So what we did was take that to the next level with some gradients you can see here, and then sort of really playing with this in terms of some of the splashes of color, and then looking at the fonts even and how everything plays together. So it just feels more cohesive now from a visual perspective. So I would say that's the only thing that potentially there's room to improve that even more. But otherwise, I think, I would use you, Elisabeth, as an example of this is what your homepage should look like in terms of the flow. Again, if you could just switch these two around, I think that would be amazing. I do think as well, I love the video that you have going on. I really like that. I wonder if some different photos might make sense. And I say that because there's a very distinctive background behind you. I guess we could kind of crop you out of this, but I want to see you uninterrupted. I want to get a true sense of who you are, and maybe, you know, a bigger smile or a bit more personality expressed. Paul is a big personality, but you can see, like, this is truly him. This is the Paul that you meet when you first talk to him. And so some new photographs might be part of your journey at some point. I love these photographs, but I just think with the right person, the right creative direction, they could just be at that next level in terms of making sure that people understand that, oh, Elisabeth is the expert when it comes to the conscious leadership.
Yeah.
But I love this direction. Do you have any questions for me?
I guess, well, that was good, and the redirection or the reordering is good. And I don't know if I don't know where they go from here, like the keynotes page.
Yeah, I typically would say that if speaking is one of the main things that you do, then that's probably going to be where they look next. You could potentially add in a meeting professionals link if you want to kind of help them to some of your speaker assets, for example. But I like this. I might almost look at what you had on your homepage and replicate that, because I really liked that you had the writing over the video. It just felt really cohesive to me. Whereas this feels almost a little bit like an afterthought. So again, for me, it's more the design and that cohesiveness. I love that you have, it looks like if I click here, this is a great practice. So as we're thinking about SEO, but also now, because I think, 80-90% of search results are coming through AI for those who are using it. Thinking about how can we maximize the space that we have on our website. So I actually love that you click and you have a dedicated page for the Praise Paradox keynote speech with all of the key takeaways, the video here, the keynote description. This is really robust. You've done a great job there. And then, testimonials and things like that as well. So I think that's fantastic. One thing that I'm looking for, and I'm not immediately seeing, and it may just be because, okay, so I don't see an about page. And now you do have an about section. So I might do a couple different
2 minutes,
things.
Nikki, 2 minutes.
Thank you so much, Steve. I would talk forever if you didn't keep me honest. So I would do one of two things, Elisabeth, if I were you. And again, it's totally up to you, of course, what you do. But I would add an about tab at the top, and then either have it linked to, if you repeated this section on every page, it could just anchor down to that specific section on every page. But I think there could be a real opportunity for you here to be fully seen, because I know that this is a part of your story. I'm sure you share a lot more in your keynotes, and it's not necessarily that you have to give away everything that you tell everyone about, but I think maybe, and if you're struggling to know what to share, maybe just talk about a little bit more about your journey or your values or your mission or what you're seeking to do in the world. Your why, why do you do this work in the first place? That's my favorite question to ask people, because oftentimes it's like, well, where do I begin? Like, I think that that's really important. It's clear your stuff, so don't be afraid to lean into more of your truth and your perspective so that people really feel connected to you. There's been no. Oh yeah, go ahead.
Just taking on what you were saying to Sheri, should I be adding testimonials on the first page as well?
Yeah, I think so. That definitely would be something. I think I accidentally stopped sharing. There we go. Yeah, that absolutely. I just think that the more that you have, and just kind of sprinkle them through, and think about, it can be tricky to do, but if you really put yourself in the mindset of the person visiting your site, are there specific points on the journey as they're reading your copy where they might be like, but is this the person for me? And there's a question there. That's a great time for a testimonial. So oftentimes
we have to wrap it up there. You can
wrap
make
it up.
a final sentence there, Nikki. Go ahead.
So yeah, as I say, you can feel free to look at some of these examples. I'll do oftentimes one at the top, and then I think we have, so now we have like a whole bunch down here. So I think on every page, that's a great practice if you can do that.
All right. I know this is tough to cut it off. So Karen Laos, I'll let her jump in, but her link is there, but this is her older website. She's working on a new one. So take a
Okay.
look. She wants to look at something here, and then she's gonna share like her PDFs of her new one with you. So I'll let you two take it
Okay.
from here.
Hi,
Awesome. Awesome.
Nikki. Thank you so
Hello.
much. So great to meet you.
So great
Yeah,
to
so
meet
I just
you.
wanted to show you that this video is going to be the banner on the PDF that I'll share.
Okay, wonderful. And again, I like this. I think, especially if you don't have recent photography, or you just want to show people right off the bat, like, I am a speaker and I do speak. I think that this is a great practice and thing to do. I also love that you have your brand promise up here: become a confident communicator. It's simple. It's to the point we immediately know what we're doing here. And then I love that you underscore that, because I guess anybody who helps people with communication in any kind of way could say that. So I love that right underneath you have a qualifying statement: simple strategies to speak up in the boardroom and beyond. So now we have some context for the work you do, which I think is really great. I love that you have schedule a call. For those of you that are featuring videos in the top, I think actually that Elisabeth did this. She had a link to watch her video. Even though it's playing in the background, you might want to have a couple of calls to action here, which is, I just mean like a button asking someone to do something. You might want to have watch video and then schedule a call side by side, so people can say, well, actually, I just want to actually watch this whole video she has going on before I schedule a call. But I think it's okay to offer those. Nice clean nav. Lots happening under work with me. This could be an
Hey,
opportunity.
Nikki, let me just jump
And
in. Karen, did you want her to look at
Yeah,
your
I
new
was
one?
going to say, could we switch now to the PDF?
Switch.
So that we're,
and so you're going to share on your end?
yeah, I'll have it. I put it in the chat, but I think it came out as a little baby. So, so let me see if, can you see this?
Oh, yes, I can see that. Yeah.
Okay.
Oh, yes. Great.
So is that big enough?
Yeah, it's fantastic. All right,
So-
amazing.
So then the video banner will be there. I am curious if you think it's time to speak up and be heard is better than become a confident communicator.
Yes.
Okay. Okay.
Yeah. Because it feels more galvanizing. It's like, it's a point of view that's being strongly expressed. So now it feels like, ooh, yeah, actually, I agree with that. And so I'm going to stick around. I'm going to learn more.
Okay.
Yeah, so I think this is great. I love that you have the credibility of those logos immediately. It's huge. I mean, one of the things that I'm often trying to do is, how can we sell you before you even have to say a word, or when you've just said a few words? Like, let's make sure people are so wowed by you that it's kind of a no-brainer to take that next step. So I think that that's done really well. And something I will say that you've done well, in addition, I can tell already from the copy, is the what I would call the visual identity piece, or that the visual piece feels to me like it's been really intentionally thought out in terms of the font, the color choices. It feels like everything's kind of playing together. Even, you see some different design aspects, like this angular, it's not just a typical blocky website. There's some more interesting things happening, which have me intrigued and help me know that I'm on someone's website where there's a little bit something more going on. The same with the glitter sprinkles behind your photo. There's just some more thoughtful design touches there, which I really, really appreciate. I think this is great. I love that it's 3 paragraphs for your story and then some quick bullet points that are very benefits or outcomes driven. So I love that. And then I love that you give them that opportunity to now go to your full about page or what have you, and learn more about you. I love that you repeat the video. If you have a great speaking video, put it everywhere. So that means even if you feel like you keep saying, watch my video, like, you want them to watch your video, because when they see you in action, they're going to be sold on you. So I love that you have this again here.
And that's a separate one. That's actually my speaker reel. The other one is a loop, but same difference. Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. And then I love that you have these. Something that you've that's been done with these is that they're all one color, which is something that oftentimes we will do as well, because I think it can be, otherwise it feels like an ad for someone else's brand, but it's your brand. So I think it's okay to have them all in the same color.
Okay.
And then I love, as you continue to scroll, I just think this is exactly what I was talking about earlier. While I have led global teams and consulted many leaders, I have not been without my own struggles. I mean, that's so powerful. I think it's something that we need to know, because and so remember what I was talking about in terms of making sure your audience feels seen and heard and understood. And we even talked about maybe writing them some kind of love letter, or really feeling into what they're feeling challenged with, this is such a lovely way to get into that, because you're sharing your heart. You're sharing like, I've been there, but you said it in such an eloquent way. I get it. I see you, ready to stop holding back. So I just think it's everything is looking great. The only thing that I spotted, if you go all the way back up to the top navigation, I think it's fine to have the work with me in the drop down. I just remember that you had a lot of things under there.
Yeah.
So there may be an opportunity, potentially. I'm not sure if you've already factored this in for the new site, but there may be an opportunity to streamline that a little bit more. So for example, thinking about how you can sprinkle the testimonials all the way through, or having a dedicated page for a certain program. Again, you don't want to have the navigation menu be really bulked out with a million different things. But it just would be something that would catch my eye that I'd want to take a second look at and just make sure we're really optimizing every page on your site.
Perfect. Yeah, I think we did that. It's in my designer's hands now, but
awesome.
Yeah. So then testimonial, and then I guess just the rest is.
Yeah, it looks great. And then that, you have each of the things that you offer. Yeah, no notes. I think it's great.
Okay.
Yeah, exciting. And then you have
Fabulous.
a great practice for your footer is to have repeats or have an opt-in like you do. You have the repeated CTA. So yeah.
Thank you.
Looks great.
If we still have time, can I ask you about the Steve, where are we at?
You got about 2.5 minutes still.
Okay. The subtitle here I'm wanting to work on. I feel like I can't quite land that. Excuse me. Because I think own your voice is overused. I'm thinking something like lead with presence, speak with power, and ask for what you want, or ask for what they want. Wondering if you
I think, your instincts are right. And I think we need to, when we get that little inkling, like, I think this is just too overdone, I think listen to that. And so I think this is fine and would work well as it is. And do I think there's an opportunity for you to sprinkle something in that's more Karen? And it may be pulled directly from your own journey in terms of how you speak about what you've learned how to do, or your favorite parts of your work. So I like where you're going with the lead with presence thing. I just want to make sure as well that it feels truly like your language and something that you would say, and something that you talk about often.
That's interesting. Excuse me.
Yeah. No, you're fine.
No, it's interesting that you say that, because I think that these things that sound almost so grandiose. Like I think about, well, when I actually introduce myself, I usually talk about communicate with confidence and clarity so you can project authority and command any room that you walk into, something to the tune of that, versus walking in, lead with presence, lead with power. Right. I mean, it kind of feels a little grand.
It's like any of us who put together a new talk, and the real test is when you have to say it to other people, and then you're like, oh no, that's not it. I feel so silly. I can't believe I said that. So if you feel weird saying it out loud, then that's not it. And actually, one of the things that you can do is like literally read through the copy on your new homepage and be like, does that feel like me? Would I say it that way? Because the gold is going to come through when you're using your own natural ways of saying things. And I think even just the way you just framed it a second ago sounded even better.
1 minute
with presence. Yeah.
1 minute.
Thank you. Well, we can give somebody else the extra minute, Steve.
All right.
Unless you have anything else, Nikki, that you wanted to add that you think would elevate it.
No, I just think you're headed in a great direction. I'm excited for you.
The woman from California yields her time. We will.
Thank you, Nikki. Appreciate it.
Good stuff.
Maybe
Daniel?
I'm getting faster, and the last one will be like 30 seconds.
Daniel's got his website there, and I'll let you two take it from here.
Amazing. Thank you, Daniel. All right. And I realize hello. I realize I'm really whizzing through, so I feel like I'm cutting everyone short. So I'd love to. I'm sure we'll have some time after this to go through any additional questions, or feel free to reach out to me anytime. Daniel, what I love is that, as we talked about previously with other sites, is that we can see you. We get to see this, you're looking at us, you have this lovely smile on your face. Like I'm like, oh, I want to know Daniel. I want to get to know him better. And you also have this great logo that has a really profound message. Don't ADHD alone. I love that. And reimagining ADHD. as someone with self-diagnosed ADHD, it's something that speaks to me, you know, this idea that I don't have to feel alone with it. And actually, maybe I can reimagine it into some kind of, I don't know, superpower. So I think you do a great job there. And then there's instant credibility, right? Because you're telling us you have a PhD and you're a professional speaker on adversity to advantage. And you use another one of these really powerful I help statements. So I think that's great. The only thing that I would say is, as I go through, is maybe there's some cleanup that could be used in terms of just the organization of the site, because it feels a little bit right now like we have a small boxed photo, and then we have text that's sort of larger, and it overtakes the photo, and then the next section there's like a big chunk of white space. So there might just be some cleanup required, just in terms of making sure everything feels really aligned and in the right space, which is more of a design piece of feedback, really. But what I do really like is that, you know, you immediately have this really inclusive message that everyone faces obstacles. So in line with the tagline in your logo, you're immediately helping us feel less alone. Everyone faces obstacles. And what if those various struggles hold the key to your greatest strengths? It's such a lovely message to lead with. And I also think you do a great job in terms of the messaging side of things. I believe statements can be really, really powerful. And so I believe adversity is not the end of the story. Did everyone feel that? Like it's really good stuff. So I love that you're leading with a strong point of view, and it's this vision for change that we talked about earlier. It's this sort of hope-filled way of talking to your audience so that they know that other things are possible. And you even speak to that. You know, people can reframe challenges, discover the hidden strengths, and you literally say, let's reimagine what's possible together. So I think the messaging is just on point. It's lovely. And then I like how you talk about our approach. I guess I'm curious now, because it sounds like it's not just you, because it's our approach. If it is just
it
you,
is just me, so I should change that.
I do work with It's Not Just Me, and one of my friends was like, why do you keep saying our, because isn't it you that, and so it's a whole thing. But I think my approach is okay, or I think it's okay to own that, because what I would assume then is, I might not be working with you directly, there may be someone else. And so it's like one of those things, like if you say something in a talk on stage and it just makes people think for a second longer than they need to, it's just kind of creating unnecessary friction. So it's just a tiny little thing. But yeah, I love that you talk about your mission. I can't say enough. I think the overall messaging is clear and is great. I think that some formatting is going to be your friend. You know, even things like this copy, if you could break it up so I could see some white space between the paragraphs, especially like as that's like an ADHD thing, right? Like long paragraphs, we're just going to switch off. So how could you make
Right.
it even easier? Well, because we all like that. We all have very short attention spans in this day and age. So how could you think about maybe there's, you know, your most powerful sentence, you know, you could kind of pick that out and you know, let me just find an example. I know I just found a million just a second ago. Oh, like, this is just amazing. Your adversity is not the end of your story. It can become the beginning of your advantage. Maybe you bold that. Maybe it lives on its own line and it's just by itself. And then that way it's really going to pop. So I think making some more intentional choices about how you format even the copy as you move through the page, and think about guiding people's eyes to the things that you definitely don't want them to miss, because they might scan, they may not read every single word. You have a lot of copy here. So be thinking about how you can guide people's eyes down the page. And maybe some of this copy lives elsewhere. That's another thing. Or it could potentially be shortened up, or maybe it's in smaller font. Or again, I think cleaning up some of the organization on the design side will help things along as well. Do you have any questions about that? Because I feel like I'm kind of repeating myself a little bit.
I do have a question. Not
Yes.
necessarily about the formatting. I appreciate that feedback, and we'll take that to heart.
Yeah.
I am very new to professional speaking, and I started out wanting to speak about ADHD in the workplace, and I've got a lot of feedback and people saying, that's really too niche. You got to be able to speak about broader things, more general things. So that's I've created this domain with Don't ADHD Alone. I thought that was a really succinct way to describe my approach, but then I've trying to shoehorn a more general keynote about adversity to advantage into this domain. And
Yes,
so I'm
I
kind
see
of,
that now.
yes. So it's a little bit schizophrenic. So I'm, debating, should I create a new domain that's just like my name.com or
Yes.
something and
Do you
de-emphasize the
ever,
ADHD and just bring that up as background, because that sort of informs my story as, how I got to this adversity to advantage perspective.
I think your instincts are great. You have a really cool name. Like
Thanks.
is it DeJoode?
DeJoode is how we pronounce it.
DeJoode? But I love it.
Yeah, thank you.
And do you ever go by doctor or just put the PhD after your name?
I don't go by doctor very often.
No. Okay, but I love the idea of you having your own domain name. And then you're right. I see now clearly, now that you've just shared that with me, that there's a differentiation challenge. And so I think that could be the thing that I would focus on first, is really thinking about, okay, what is it that I want to help people with? And don't feel like you have to completely disregard the ADHD thing. I love your instinct in terms of, well, it's part of my story. But there's also something, some of this messaging applies to all of us, regardless of who we are and what we're going through. And so I think finding that through line, for example, I know a speaker who is ADHD and works with folks with ADHD, but she just talks about neurodiversity in general and how, as teams inside workplaces, we all need to figure out our different ways of working so that we can communicate effectively and get things done. Mm-hmm. So if you start to think about, it's not just adversity to advantage. It's not just like self-empowerment, but maybe there's a business outcome that you could tie it to for an organization that brings you in. So suddenly there's, collaboration is better, communication is better, people, teamwork is improved. Like maybe that's something that you could think about tying in. So now as people are deciding whether or not to hire you to speak, you have this really clear path for them. So they know, he gets what challenges we're up against as an organization or as a team, or as a leader, and he can really speak to that in a powerful way. So I think finding that through line is definitely the next step for you. And don't feel like you need to water it down. I think you already do a great job of leaning into what your beliefs and your mission. And so I think tapping into that again from that perspective and just really, really getting clear on what do I care most about, and then getting it out there and of course testing it. And I think once you have that proof of concept, then that makes sense to kind of come back and be like, right, what am I doing with the design of this thing? And like, how do I think about the formatting? Like that's almost a secondary piece, I would say.
Two minutes.
Any more questions?
No, you've answered my big question, and I appreciate the feedback that you've given me on just your impressions of the website. That's really helpful.
I know, and we don't have much time at all, but like if you sort of look ahead, do you have any inklings about, I think this is the thing that I really want to talk about, or this is the thing that I care most about? I mean, I know we have adversity to advantage, but tell me some more about what you're kind of thinking right now.
If I had my druthers, I would speak about ADHD in the workplace and helping people with ADHD realize their strengths, and what their struggles also comes with a strength. Like ADHD has all kinds of positive attributes, as well as just the experience of the struggle one might have with the ADHD helps. It's a learning experience. And I'd also want to help people who work with others who have ADHD, people who are managers or business leaders or HR people, help them understand ADHD as a form of neurodiversity and what that means for, like, how would you help an employee achieve their maximum and be a contributing member of the team.
Yeah, I love that. And that can definitely continue to be your internal driver. I might encourage you to think about what is the universal message here in terms of we're all wired differently, but somehow we've all got to work together. So how do we make that happen? And that's me completely butchering your very meaningful work in the world. But if there is a universal way you can frame this, like, we each have our own individual superpowers. Like all of our brains are wired differently. We all have different experiences and thoughts and beliefs and all of this kind of stuff that we're bringing to the table. So how do we get the best out of ourselves and each other? So it could be something more universal like that. So you don't have to have a room full of self-diagnosed or actually diagnosed ADHD people in the room to know, okay, I'm in the front of my right audience, but actually anyone could sit in that room and get something out of it. And they would feel seen in that process too.
We are at time, unfortunately.
Thank you,
Thank you,
Steve.
Nikki.
Yeah.
Good stuff. All right, I did put Mattie's link down there as well, and you
Okay.
guys can take it from here.
Let's go. Hi, Mattie. Are you there?
I am. Can you hear me?
Hello. Yes, I can. Yes.
All right.
Amazing. So you're a ghostwriter.
I am.
I'm guessing that from this very specific URL, which is fantastic. My own ghostwriter, and then the logo as well. And then I love this. Need help writing? Friends don't let friends write bad books. Yes, that's a great way to kind of kick things off. You certainly have invited a curiosity gap of sorts there. So I definitely want to read on. I guess my own ghostwriter, I am curious what that means, what that looks like. And so we help them write bestsellers, curious about writing services. I think this all feels very, very clear. You also have 3 clear options at the top, which I think is great. And then you have some logos. I might want to present these logos slightly differently, like we talked about before. Sometimes if you can just have them all be grayscale or just one color, and maybe separate them a little bit. But I think that's great to have that credibility right at the top. And then you get right into these editing services. Your site's a little bit different because it's less about you as an individual and it's more about your company overall. Is that something that you want to persevere with, or is speaking is part of what you do? And would you like me to take a look at that page?
I would love you to take a look at that page. We are scaling up my writing businesses, and so I've hired other writers to write with me.
Oh,
And
amazing.
my love would be to be on stages. I have 2 keynote speeches. I gave one to school marketing last night for the first time. It went very well. And then Brave New Chapters. Anything I can do to, elevate smart people and make them stand out as thought leaders in their crowd, in authorities.
I have a suggestion for you.
Yeah.
Because it's your company, right?
Yes.
You're the CEO.
Yes.
And yet I don't see you up here. And then when I click to find out about your speaking, I see you. And I'm like, oh, there you are. And so I think that this is an amazing picture too. Like I really feel your personality shining through. And so if I could see you right off the bat, it can be Mattie Murray, CEO of my own ghostwriter.
Love that.
And then you could even put in your in your little sort of bio credibility statement right underneath, keynote speaker, that kind of thing. So we know, oh, she owns this company and we're on the company website, but then she also does other things as well. So that's one thing that I would say. Yeah.
So I have a picture from school last night where I'm behind a bar that everything's behind, and I could use that. Because you were talking about a website earlier where you had somebody like, put yourself on the homepage, our very first one. And I would love to do that. And then,
and of course, like I'm probably like on my company website, I don't have a picture of me. So it doesn't always make sense, especially, we're boutique as well. We're not like a giant company. But you sort of making those decisions around when does it make sense, when does it not. But I think that in this instance, it does make sense for us to see you, or like maybe it's your team working in person with a writer or something like that, just so we can get a sense of, because right now we can't immediately figure out what, who's what or what's happening. In terms of this one sheet, I think this is, well, I call it a one sheet, but it looks like it's a 2-sided one, and I think that's great. You have founder, I think what I want to know, which you have your specializations, but it's almost like up here, I think it's there, but I think with you there could be some more powerful differentiation. Okay. I think that a message. I think you do have friends don't let friends write bad books, which is a really fun way to frame it. But then I almost want you to take that and run with it, which is probably doesn't mean too much. But what? Tell me more. I guess I want to hear. Great question. Tell me more. I guess I want to hear more about your perspective. I think what I'm missing what I was missing on your company site, and now when I come over here, I see your official bio. I know you have a formula. I know you specialize, but I just want to hear more of your point of view. So there are lots of ghostwriters out in the world, just like there are lots of branding strategists. There are just lots of people doing similar work. So I think you have these trademarked ways of working. You have the system, the formula, but at some juncture, I want to hear from you. And so I think that this is good as a one sheet. But I think if you're thinking about building out an actual speaking page, I want to hear some more about what does this mean to you? Because I know that there's more there. I know that if you and I had time and I asked you some more questions, you'd be like, wow. And so that's the kind of stuff I want to pull through. So we just feel you more, like knowing that it's not just that you're an expert, because it's evident from everything that you have here. Yes, you're a CEO, you're a founder, you are a true expert in this area. That's evident. But what we're missing is our connection to you as another human. Okay. And I know, again, that feels sort of a little bit, how do I really pin that down? But I think just giving yourself permission to show up more and reclaim your voice in terms of what's important to you. I think you have the beginnings of it and you could push it further. And I think if you had a dedicated speaking page, you could do that. I might also encourage you, just from a technical perspective, people might miss this little burger menu. So you might want to think about having it laid out along the top instead, but that's just a small thing. Overall, I think, the website is robust. You have a clear color scheme and things like that. I think that's the main thing that we're missing. Like, I want to know some more about you. Even if people end up working with other ghostwriters, that's okay. But like this is a business that you've built. And so I think sometimes we have to remember to bring ourselves back into the equation, at least while the company continues to be ours, so that other people can just really get a sense of, okay, who is this person? And it's kind of like really understanding your motivations again. So going back to that question of your why, I think understanding that helps us trust you more. And so if you can really lean into that, I think it's going to do you a great service. Any more questions around that?
I have one question for the page.
And there's just about 2.5 minutes left, so you're in good shape.
As a ghostwriter, we charge premium prices for books and then all the way down to do-it-yourself and book coaching. I have heard both ways. If you go to the services page, am I transparent? Do I put the full everything out there of what a ghostwriting package means, including the price? So if you scroll down here, we've got the pain points, we've got why it's premium, who it's for, commitment, and then we've got the price on the bottom. Some people have said, don't put that price out there because you want to have that call with your clients or your discovery calls. And some people will say, put it out there, be transparent. And I've broken it down into the monthly installments. You know what I mean? What is your recommendation on putting that out there or not?
It's such a great question, because I know that different people have different stances on it, and I'll try and answer as quickly as possible. Because I do believe that transparency is important, and if that's a business value of yours, it's important to lead with. I also think that sometimes, even if you have the most amazing website that's saying and doing everything it possibly can, sometimes still that conversation is the thing that locks it in. Right. And so you might want to kind of provide some clues, even if you don't lay it out there in black and white and say prices start from, packages start from, payment plans start from, or maybe there's some kind of questionnaire that they fill out when it says, what is your budget for this work, or what are you willing to invest, or something like that. So you get a sense then, this is kind of their range, or this is kind of what they have in mind. So that then also you value their time, they value your time, in terms of, it probably doesn't make sense for us to get on a call for this particular service because our prices are just way more than they're willing to invest. So you can actually filter them out, which I realize that this is also doing for you, but I think that there's ways of doing it that feel less maybe in your face, because I know that kind of does give sticker shock, and I know that is 100% worth it. Like, that is what it costs to get a book ghostwritten, 100%. But it may be like there's still almost that human element, and maybe introducing more of you into it will assist with that. But I think they need to speak to you to really understand, is this my person? And I don't want them to count you out before they've had the opportunity. Right. So I think there's ways to qualify them, and I think there's and I think you don't necessarily need to have every single thing laid out in that way either. And just for comparison purposes, we don't have any of our prices on our websites right now, but we are working on some kind of guides and things like that that give people a better sense of this is kind of what you would be looking at, so they can self-select out or they can pre-qualify and know that it makes sense to continue that line of inquiry.
Thank you.
All right, good stuff. And so just, we got, Sig next and then Kathryn, and then we might have an open spot here. So the alternates haven't shown up yet. So Erin or Amy, I don't know if there's others that you guys have an option to jump in here at the end. So just let me know in the chat, but I will let Nikki and Sig take it from here.
Yes. Oh my gosh. So I got to hear Sig's story at Thrive. And I hope you've all had the chance to hear it, because it's just like, what? I think we made him repeat himself like 5 different times when new people came over to our table. You have this incredible, like, this book. I just think that this is like the most amazing title, and it really speaks to, I think, what you've been trying to figure out, Sig, lately, in terms of how do I talk about this and help people understand the urgency of my message. Dying to be the world's best. Yeah, like that says it all. I think we're all of us want a book title that says that. There used to be an ad in the UK that was about like fence polish or something. It says it does exactly what it says on the tin. That's what this book does for you. Reignite your heart to elevate your life. It's beautiful. It's profound. Love it. Love it. Love it. Okay, I've got to move my little Zoom window here. We see you talking, so that's great. We see immediately you're an author, speaker, consultant. I think I might, and then you have your story here, which is fantastic. I think I might just want to be picky about a couple different things. One, I think one thing that could work really well for you is if and when you have a speaking video of you, maybe in a few different venues, or maybe just you in one place, like we saw a couple of the others had. That could be a great thing to have kind of just playing in the background to just give us a sense of you in action. I think that just could be a great credibility booster. And then as and when you get more and more testimonials and logos and things like that, you can obviously add them in. Aha, you have your video down here. So I would highly recommend bring that all the way up to the top. Do not make us scroll for your video. And so maybe there's a button up here that says watch video. Again, maybe you have it silently playing behind some of this copy here. But I think that's a piece that people really need to see, because you are just such I got to spend time with you, so I feel very lucky, but you're such an incredible individual. And from this static photo alone, we're not getting a fuller sense of who you are. But if we see you moving and interacting, I think that's really going to help us. And then I like this statement, helping leaders, teams, and organizations become the world's best. I think it's really clear. I might almost lead with this instead of author, speaker, consultant, and maybe put underneath you in smaller writing, author, speaker, consultant. So it's sort of like a little side nod, like this is who I am, without making it the main event. And then, I mean, it's so interesting because I always say, well, lead with the challenge and then tell people who you are. But your story is so, like, it just grabs you. I'm just like, it did what? And then, so I think that this is actually great to have here. I appreciate, I don't know if this is is this your imagery?
It's stock. Some it's a mix, my site. That one in particular stock. Yeah.
I think a good goal would be ultimately to use all of your own pictures. Again, it's just going to feel like we're going to get a better sense of you, and there's going to be no disconnect, because sometimes it's like even I was like, is that Sig or is it someone else? So I think that could be something to think about. I also would say, like, really thinking about what is the number one thing that you want people to do when they come to your homepage. And maybe there's a hierarchy. So maybe the first thing is, well, I want them to buy the book. And then the second thing is, I want them to hire me to speak. And so with that in mind, what does that look like? You have a picture of the book here, but I can't do anything with it. So maybe, I think Mel Robbins had something like this for a while. But I think she's changed her site. But maybe there's a section right underneath your banner that's dedicated to the book. And you have the, new book, what it's about, and then click to buy it. And so you have that immediate action step that people can take, because if people read the book, they're going to want to have you come in and speak. I'm guessing, right? And then in terms of your speaking, again, I think moving the video up so they can watch you in action right away. And then how some others did, maybe have like book Sig to speak or check Sig's availability or something along those lines. So a couple different calls to action, I think earlier on could be really helpful. Because I think this is good. Let's reawaken your purpose and equip you to be the world's best you, but it's kind of long. I mean, I would almost prefer something like, I mean, I love the world's best you. I think it's such a great thing that you can keep repeating, but I don't know if it makes complete sense for this button because it's just a bit long. You have a free Kickstart kit, but I just want to get your book. So like maybe it's, you know, buy the book and then right next to it there's a button that says get the free Kickstart kit. Or maybe it's get the book and read the first chapter for free. That's oftentimes something you can do just to kind of give people a taste. And then you could have the free Kickstart kit on the dedicated book page. Yeah. Is that a different book, Heart of the Matter book?
No, that's the book. I have a QR code at the end of every chapter with some additional exercises. Okay. And so this page is a value add for anyone who reads the book to scan the QR code and come to this page.
Okay. I think that what I would do as well, it's just a little bit of cleanup in the navigation menu. So for book, I would just have book, just to keep it nice and simple. Because again, we don't want to overcomplicate things. Yeah. Products and merch. Yeah, that's cool. I might just say shop.
Yeah.
I might just say, what I might do is have inspiration or maybe insights or something like that. Just have one, and then instead of having the drop down, maybe somehow linking to these on that page. And again, let me just quickly show an example. I'm using Paul's because we just launched his site, and let me hope that he has this. In fact, maybe I should use Steve. Do you have this? Steve, let's have a look. So look. But some kind of page where, yeah, we have a resources page. So I might just see, and so then if you click any of these, it drops you down to that dedicated section. Yeah. So I might think about just having one page, and you can sort of have a few blog posts, a few interviews, and then click to view more, or click to listen to the full article. And then speaking, if I were doing your site, I would have keynotes on one tab, executive coaching on another, and workshops. Or I might have it in this order: keynotes, workshops, executive coaching. And I would break them out, so again, people don't have to go and look for it. And I think that might just help clean things up a little bit. And then instead of contact us, I would move your contact CTA right to the right-hand side and have it reflect whatever you had further down the page in terms of check Sig's availability. I know I'm getting really into the weeds here, but I just think that sometimes we underestimate how much our navigation menus can do for us in terms of positioning us and helping people get to the information they need. One more point, I know I'm whizzing through. At some point, I think really figuring out visually how this can represent you would be amazing, because right now I think it's for the most part, it's clean, it's simple, but I think it's not. Again, I've had the absolute honor of spending time with you. Like, I would just love to see more of you and your personality represented here. So at some point, it might make sense to do a more intensive overhaul and redesign, so that we can really kind of capture the essence of when you show up on stage or you walk into a room, or when you share your story. Like, we want to feel more of that right off the bat.
2 minutes.
Because right now, it could almost be anyone's website instead of your website. I want it to feel like I want to get a sense of who you are right off the bat. Any questions?
I appreciate that. Yeah, I wouldn't mind you taking a quick look at the Heart of the Matter book page and just kind of comment on that. I shared the purpose of it.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I think you have some really great content here. One thing I would want to see, because we forget how powerful it is right above the fold. I mean, I like this. I mean, I'm guessing this is sort of alluding to you not being with us for however long it was. And
it's actually a photo I took myself years ago. Yeah.
I think what I want to see, though, I come to the book page, I want to know I'm in the right place. It sounds so simple, but as humans, we're intelligent creatures, but we can also be simple creatures. And we like things to be easy. So I would want a picture of the book right here in that top banner. And then I'd want the book's promise to be right up here too. And I'd want that button to go and buy the book. So I don't want to work to find it. Basically, this whole section, like I'd have that be the top of the page. Yep. But I think this is great. I love that you have the Amazon link. I think this is really nicely laid out. I love that you have this reflection guide. It's such a great thing to do when you launch a book, to have additional resources and things that people can dive into. And I love that you have this Kickstart kit. And I think this is the right place for it. This feels good that it's here. And then presumably, are these blog posts? Or there are
blog posts, interviews, a host of things, but they all each ties to a chapter and the meaning in that chapter.
Okay.
You just put like 15, 20, 30 seconds somewhere there, Nikki, to wrap it up.
Yeah. I know. And I was just pausing for thought, but I'm like, I'm taking up time just by thinking. I mean, you've got a lot of great ingredients, and like, you're the world's best, Sig. You got this. I'm excited to see you take it to the next level, because you've got such a powerful message and story. And I think just a few of these tweaks are already going to make it so much better in terms of some of this reordering, maybe moving this book down, moving the video up, and having some of those clear calls to action, I think could be really effective. And not being afraid. Like I'm okay if there's a photo of you here and then there's a photo of you here and then there's another don't feel like you're putting too much of yourself everywhere, because it's your website ultimately, and we're hiring you to come up and speak in front of our people. And there's no more scrutinizing of you than people are going to do than when you're up on stage. Like, they're going to be looking at you. So it's okay to be seen and to be more out front with all of that stuff.
All right. Thank you, Nikki. You are the world's best. Appreciate you.
Love
and
it.
Maybe we'll have time to do more little Q&A if we don't get that last slot filled here. But the last scheduled slot here is Kathryn. And I did put her link in the chat, so you two can take it from here.
Thank you both.
Hi, Kathryn. So good to meet you.
Thank you for taking the time.
Do you have any specific questions before I dive in, or shall I?
No, I predominantly do keynote speaking, just giving you that for context. It can come alongside corporate workshops as well. So with that in mind, let's dive in.
Well, one of the things I really love about this, and this isn't, if you look in our portfolio, it's not typical of the sites that we do. Because I'm about to really compliment you. I think it's lovely and clean, and there's actually not a navigation menu, and I think that sometimes can be okay. And I'm assuming this is just a one-page website.
Well, actually, if you go back up,
okay.
So it probably just didn't load yet.
I gotcha.
Yeah. I felt like having everything on one page was too much, so I divided it out. So if you click speaking, it'll take you down to my speaking. About, it'll take you to that.
Okay. But what I appreciate about it is that this is just so clean and clear at the top. And I think that the use of these logos immediately is that credibility boost. It's like, and it's Dr. Kathryn Preston, and we know exactly what your expertise is. And we see that you've presumably contributed to these publications, which is amazing. And then you have this really powerful I help statement, which is so great. And then this clear outcome. So I think that's good. And I love this picture of you. Of course, it kind of fulfills what we talked about earlier in terms of you're smiling, you're looking at, like, we really get a sense of you. It's so hard to direct this when people go for photo shoots, but it's like, just look at the person behind the camera, like, you know them really well and you want to help. Like, it's so tough to direct it, but you've done a great job there. I love that you have your video up here. I might be tempted to put, and it could be, I love this very clean font, put the navigation at the top where we would expect to find it, and then instead under here have watch video, even though if you keep scrolling you're going to see it. Like, I don't want them to miss it.
Sure.
And it could be, watch Kathryn in action, or watch speaker reel, or something like that. And what's going to happen is, by seeing those things in the navigation, they're going to immediately know, oh, she does speaking, or there are different ways to work together. Oh, I can learn more about her right off the bat if I want to. I might suggest, if there's any way to do this, just because it might look even better, is have this kind of be a full width video.
Okay.
And again, I think I can put Paul's website in the chat, but it's pauljlong.com. I'm pretty sure we did that with him. And then I think that this is great. I love these photos of you.
Thank you.
Really great pics because they show you in action. It's so hard to get a good picture when you're speaking. I don't know if you've found that personally, but I find it impossible. My mom's always doing something strange. And what I like is that you have an invitation to continue the journey in terms of going that next level deeper, which is great. And then, yeah, it's a funny, I think you've got a lot of the right components. You've got the testimonials here and things like that. It's interesting how you've put it together because it's not as intuitive as a site normally would be. Like if I've come through now to your speaking and workshops, I can kind of get the information I need, and I guess I can hit the back button. But I think having that consistent navigation at the top each time is going to be really effective.
Okay.
I like that you have each one of these laid out. And again, I'm going backwards now, probably making everyone dizzy, but I like that these are nice and clear. I might do something similar in terms of what I described for someone else in terms of having who this is for, or at the very least, if you don't have that, maybe just audiences will walk away with, or key takeaways or something along those lines, and just having maybe like 4 or tops 5 bullet points that very clearly call different things out, so people don't have to dig and read through everything necessarily to immediately see at a glance what the specific presentation is going to do for them.
I point out audience at the top, but would you or actually if you go down and here keynotes and workshops above
oh sorry
there
yeah,
would you do that differently? Because that was sort of like the catch-all for everything below it versus for every single keynote listing it repeatedly.
Yeah, and it's interesting, isn't it? Because I sometimes think I have 2 brain cells to rub together, but I kept scrolling past it. So I think just noticing that that's what I was doing, make it easy for people. So maybe it factors into each keynote. I think that you could probably have discover topics be up here. Yeah, and you already do. So this almost feels a little bit redundant.
Yeah.
And well suited for diverse men. And like it almost doesn't, it kind of goes without saying. But I think this is important. And so making sure that factors into each of the descriptions, I think would be good.
Okay.
And because I like what you have up here. You're really set, and this is a great example of what folks can do at the top of a speaking page is, it's time to move beyond the fluff. You're not just motivational, an action-based speaker, because that's what we're hearing more and more and more is that meeting professionals and event planners, they want to hire someone that's going to inspire people to do something, not just kind of give them fluffy motivation. So I think that that's really great. It's a good differentiator. And then, talking about what they can expect, what they can walk away with. I think that's great. Yeah. I think that one thing that you could think about doing in the future, I love the photographs that you have. If in the future you end up with a small snippet video of each talk, that could be something that could just bring each one to life that you could kind of feature alongside. But otherwise, I think what you have is great. I'm going to go looking now to see if you have. Do you have your speaker assets anywhere on here? Or is that something that you always just follow up with?
I only send that once we agree to work together.
Okay.
But if you go to down to the speaking, it has clips, and then it has different videos that they can see of me as well as testimonials.
Oh, yeah, you've got the clips in there. See, I've got the memory of a goldfish sometimes. Yeah, so that's great. Yeah, so I might.
Usually I'll often just direct people if they make an inquiry, not through my website, but reach out via email or I meet them. I'll direct them directly to that video link versus to my main homepage.
I think that's fine doing that. I would say that sometimes it can be, if people see, oh, she has, a one sheet and AV needs and a stage intro and a bio PDF, it's like, oh, like she speaks. And again, you've already done such a great job of setting up your credibility. You have all these fantastic photos and comprehensive descriptions. I think you could potentially also have those assets on your site so people know that they're ready to go, and maybe they even download them ahead of any conversation that you have. It's not essential. It could just be the sort of 1% difference. But I think the biggest opportunity for you is I appreciate it. It's clearly part of how you think, like you've done things differently, but I would just say be wary about doing things so differently that people can't immediately find what they need. So just be mindful of that journey as people navigate through your site, that they can get where they need to go without having to think too hard about it.
Okay.
But I think overall it's like a really clean site, great photography, and everything is laid out really nicely. And I appreciate this testimonial section too.
Just under 2 minutes if you guys still have more.
Do you think if you go up to the top, how I describe my services and what I do you think that that's clear, or do you think that that needs work?
Yeah, I think that, as I've said for others, I think this is great. This is fine. This speaks to what you do. Move beyond the noise to have high impact conversations that matter. Unlock action-based forward-thinking strategies. I think it's there. What I would be curious about, and the work that we potentially would do together, is that I would ask you even more about your why and like your story and your unique perspectives, your point of view, because I just want to make sure that some of that is reflected in here. And it could just be a word that you use, like maybe you describe something in a different way to other people, but I would think that might be somewhere where you could just elevate things even further by just making it more about you and the way you move through the world and the way that you help others, like allowing yourself to be more a part of the differentiation. People can get it from this, but I think allowing it to be more you, it's so hard to put that into words in terms of but hopefully that makes sense.
And I have an aversion to talking about myself because I want to make everything about them, you know?
Yes, but I get it. It's the hardest thing. It really is. But it also is that sometimes it's that disconnect. Like people, you know, they see you, they hear what, and then they want to kind of just feel that connection to you. And I can already tell just from our, you know, seeing you on Zoom and having that small amount of interaction, like you're a wonderful human to talk to. So I just want to feel more of that and get a better sense of like, how do you move through the world? Like, why is this important to you? So I think that could be the only gap that I would want to work on closing.
Okay.
All right. Well, Steve, good stuff. And Kathryn, that's a journey that I was on, and Nikki helped me go through that too. I don't want to talk about myself, but they want to know who you are. But I don't want to talk about myself. But so I totally get that.
And also, it's like, yeah, absolutely, my pleasure. And if anyone wants to, you know, continue the conversation at any point, I'm happy to.
All right, we've got one more. Erin is going to jump in here, so we're going to do one more. We'll take it to about 56 or 57, and then we'll wrap up. Thanks, you guys. Interesting format. Go ahead, Erin.
All right, thanks. I'll just preface saying that I've got 2 sites. This is my initial site, and I'm going through a transition that this will be my mostly coaching and retreat site, and my other site is Erin Barry, and that's going to be like my speaking and book site.
Is there any reason why you're doing 2 separate websites?
I have them both, and I just thought that it was starting to get busy.
Because I don't always recommend this, but I think that because you are the coach, you are the one leading the retreats, you're the one that wrote the book, and you're the one doing the speaking, that you could think about it more in terms of it being Erin's website. So where does, you know, and so maybe it's even your name. I don't know if you can get erinbarry.com or you already own it.
Well, I've got erinmarieberry.com.
There we go.
Already.
You know, just think about, okay, if this is going to be my site and it's going to be kind of almost like that legacy piece in terms of what is my work in the world? What is really important to me? I think that would then kind of give you free reign to do all the things. Because I worry that it might start to be like, okay, things feel simpler in a sense because they're in 2 different places. But now where does this blog live, or where does this media item live? And now suddenly you're trying to tackle 2 things at the same time, or you have 2 different email lists or something like that. So I think sometimes it makes sense to have a completely different site. If you have, for example, a consulting company and there's like 20 of you or something like that, then sometimes it makes sense to give yourself the personal brand website as a place where you can freely be you. But this is your business. This is your livelihood. This is your thing. So I think you could do it all in one place. Absolutely. Yeah. And in terms of keeping things clean, I guess how I would think about it is you just happen to do coaching. You just happen to lead retreats. You just happen to do speaking. You just happen to write books. But what is the thing that this is all in service of? Like, is there a through line? Is there a sort of a red thread that ties everything together? And what is that? And so I guess if they're about completely different things, then that could be a reason for having them separate. But is there a sort of a through line for you throughout all the work that you're doing?
And it's living your truth. I mean, being your authentic being and following your own unique path.
Yeah. Yeah. And do you also have a sense of, like, so I'm sure that there's slightly different audiences, you know, for your coaching and your retreats and then your speaking. Is there a sense of like who your ideal audience is? Are there people that you just love speaking to or working with that you're just like, oh, these are my people?
I don't have like these are my people, but I know like I'm really landing into the bohemian along with the wild, and then it's empty. It's midlife transitions, so anywhere from empty nesting to soon to retire.
Yeah.
And so I do love connecting with people that are dreamers. They want that, you know, they're dreaming. So I don't know.
No, I love that. And so what happened for me then when you explained that piece is that suddenly I had context for your work, because I love the idea of living your truth. And I absolutely believe in that too. I love this idea of living a great life. And then suddenly when you talked about this transitional phase that people might be in, I was like, oh, I get it now. Like suddenly I can put the pieces together a little bit more. And so I think that would be an important thing to reflect. I do like that you talk about juggling all the things and how it can be overwhelming. But I think you could give yourself permission to go that next level deeper in terms of maybe it is writing the letter to your ideal client and speaking to them and sharing, I know what you're kind of going through and what you're up against and what you're worried about, what you want, what you fear, what you're challenged with, what you feel, and just see what kind of floats out. And there may be some really important messages that you could then pull through into your copy. So my goal for you would be that as soon as they land on your website, not only do they know, oh, wow, she does coaching and retreats and speaking and has a book, but also knows, oh, I'm in the right place. This is for me. Because that's part of making someone feel seen and heard and understood is you're in the right place. This is for you. If you've ever felt not only that you're juggling all the things, but I want more context to that. I want to make sure that it doesn't feel too broad, that it could just be anyone. Because I think every single human, pretty much without exception, is juggling all the things. And it's overwhelming. But like, I don't think that you work with absolutely every single person on the planet. And so maybe there could just be a little bit of niching that would help make your message more resonant and more powerful. Yeah. I love that you have this picture of you right up top. And then I don't think you probably need the URL here, but what could replace this is maybe some of your credentials. So like we talked about with a couple of others, maybe there's a short bio line that says, you know, who you are in terms of, you know, Erin Barry, keynote speaker, best-selling author, you know, coach, or whatever it might be. Just kind of give us a few things about you so we know, oh, this sounds interesting, I'm on the right track. I think that a lot of this is really great stuff in terms of you're listing these really powerful outcomes, like reconnect to who you are, rediscover your passions and purpose, and then also kind of setting up some of these problems and challenges, you know, wondering, where did my life go? I mean, that's powerful stuff. I might think about how you can lead with a challenge and then bring in the solution. So this to me feels like a very central challenge based on the demographic that you just talked about. And then, you know, I think that this is good, but almost what we're missing is how, I think what I would want from you, because I can see you have this amazing gathering monthly, we can do a connection call, we can find out more about these different offers that you have. But what we're missing is kind of your point of view. And, you know, if you're feeling like, where did my life go? Here's what I want you to know. And really thinking about, when I think about the people I most want to serve and support, when I think about what they're struggling with and how they're feeling, what do I want them to know is possible for them? There is a way through. You know, it doesn't have to be this way. It doesn't have to feel like this. Here's what your life can look like, and kind of then painting that picture for them. So I think if you kind of set it up in that way, challenge, then your solution and your message of hope, they're just going to be like, oh my gosh, like, who is this Erin? Tell me more. And then you can kind of have an about section that's about you, and maybe a little bit about your journey, very vulnerably. It could be, you know, if you have a story like that you want to share, then some of your credentials. So people just feel, I mean, I would kind of see yourself, if this is your website, you also get to be the guide. So you get to kind of shine a light on, I know that this is most likely how you're feeling, and here's what I want you to know, and here's why I'd love to be the one that gets you where you want to be, and then here's how we do that. So there's just this sort of like lovely flow throughout everything.
About 90 seconds.
To my page of the work with Erin, and then Live Your Truth coaching.
You do it on here.
This is a little bit clearer on that.
Yes, in terms of the questions. Yeah, questions are a great way to help people find their way forward.
Okay.
Yeah, like this is wondering, it only gets you so far. I think this is great. I know firsthand experience. Yeah, this is good stuff. So maybe there's a slightly different way to frame it, so that you can even repeat some of the copy, but I would just make sure that that's evident on your homepage as well. And then as people make their way through, because they may not land on your coaching page, they might go straight to speaking. So at each point of it, like, you have these credentials here, which is great. But I would just think about, you know, what are sort of those little trust outposts that people need from me to be like, it's okay, I'm on the right track. She gets it. She knows what I'm up against. She has this really empowering message, like just sort of like little sort of reassuring signposts along the way. And you get to be the director and the guide of that.
Okay.
Does that make sense?
Yeah, it does. Thank you.
Okay.
Good stuff. Yeah, we'll wrap it up there. Thank you all for being guinea pigs for this experiment, from Nikki including being a guinea pig on this. I know 10 minutes is not enough time for that, but thank you all for doing this. And I did send you out an email to folks that participated in this, and just let me know your thoughts on this sort of an approach, this sort of a structure. I'm sure we all could have loved just hearing Nikki answer questions for 2 hours too. So we can't have it all, but let me know what you thought about that. But Nikki, I just want to kind of give you the last few minutes to share either, you know, things that you've seen throughout this whole time together, like what are some of the maybe key takeaways, themes that you're seeing emerge, and then just give people an opportunity to connect with you, and you can put stuff in the chat as far as how we can do that or whatever. But you'll just take the last few minutes and take us home.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I knew it would be an absolute pleasure to spend time with all of you. I guess my only thing is I feel slightly incomplete because we only had 10 minutes.
I know.
I know that you may have more questions, or maybe you're like, but she didn't really address this. I'm very happy for you to reach out to me anytime. I'll put my, let me put my email address in here. And feel
Nikki,
free just to, yeah.
And not to put you on the spot either, but like if there's a lot of more people want more and more and more of you too, we can chat about even bringing you back on and doing a special session as well, if you're open to that.
Yeah, I'd be very happy to do that.
Okay.
I guess more so if I left any lingering questions, feel free to reach out, and I'm on LinkedIn as well, at Nikki Groom. But it's been a real joy, and what I want to let you all know is that this whole thing of being a speaker and working towards our goals, it is this evolution. And so to give ourselves grace and to know that it doesn't have to be perfect. At no stage, actually, does it have to be perfect, or likely will it be. And so just allowing yourself to be a work in progress as you allow your online presence to be a work in progress. And just know that when people speak to you or hear you speak, they see your heart, they get it, and they want more of it. And so just trust you're on the right track. And however I can be helpful, I would love that. I'd be happy to come back. So yeah, just let me know what works. And thank you all so much.
And I know you're not a self-serving person like this either. So, and you did not come on here, just to be clear, Nikki didn't say, I'll come on here if you let me pitch my stuff or whatever like that. I've just gotten to know her, and she's got a heart of gold, and she wants people to get their voices out in the world, which is why I love the name of your company, Raised Voices. I just love that concept. But if people do want to take a next step and work with you, what is the right thing to do? Is it to email you, or what would be the next step?
Email is great. You might want to check out our website and some of our portfolio examples. We've had a lot more websites launched in the last year or so that aren't represented in that portfolio, so I'm happy to send along some more. But we're doing some phenomenal work with some really excellent speakers, and if our journeys ever intersect, I'd love to support, be it through the brand positioning, messaging process, and the website design and development. It's always a pleasure to help people truly be perceived in the way that they need to be to get their ideas out into the world. So
I love it. Well, you're probably exhausted, 2 hours of basically talking nonstop.
Need a nap now. No, just kidding.
Right. Well, feel free to seriously take her up on that. Shoot her an email if you have lingering questions. Respond to my email if you're not comfortable with having your part of this be available to other ASC members. Let me know your thoughts on this structure, this approach, what you want more of and less of. But other than that, we are at top of the hour, and to a fault, I like to start and end on time. So thank you all for being part of this. Thanks for being ambitious speakers. And Nikki, seriously, thank you. Wonderful stuff.
Thanks,
Nikki.
Great to meet you.